divorce for the 6th time, I finally agreed. But when she was about to sign the agreement, she panicked. "There's a 30-day cooling-off period. You can regret it any time, and I won't hold it against you." I looked at the man standing beside her and let out a mocking smile. Whoever regrets it can go straight to hell. On the day we went to get the divorce certificate, she grabbed my hand again. "We've been together for more than 10 years. Are you really this heartless, willing to cut it off just like that?" Once again, I looked at the man behind her and told her, "You've already done something wrong, and when you do something wrong, you take the punishment." And her punishment was coming soon. Chapter 1. 2 months before the company went public, I had someone send a message to Evelyn. "Tell her I agree to the divorce." A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Evelyn is in a meeting. I'll have someone bring you the divorce agreement." The voice on the other end was a man's, barely able to suppress his excitement. I recognized him. It was Robert, the man Evelyn fell in love with at first sight. "All right," I replied, about to hang up. But then I clearly heard Evelyn's voice coming from the other side. "Robert, who's calling?" Hearing her voice actually felt unfamiliar. We hadn't seen each other for 8 months. I couldn't help but drift off, remembering the words she told me 8 months ago. "Simon, you're insane. I want a divorce." After saying that, she never contacted me again. Ever since then, she blocked every way I could reach her. And just like she said, unable to find her, I really did lose my mind, contacting all her friends one by one until they were so annoyed they blocked me too, and still I couldn't find her. I know Evelyn. As long as she doesn't want me to find her, I never will. During that time, I cried every day, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Watching me grow thinner by the day, my father was so scared he stayed by my side constantly. "It's nothing, just a spam call." After Robert said that, my call screen would turn to normal. The wallpaper was a photo of Evelyn and me back in our school days. She was bright and youthful. I was sunny and handsome. We were the golden couple in everyone's eyes. But when did I become the lunatic she called me? When did I become the deranged man she described to her friends? I thought about it. It was probably the moment Robert first appeared in front of Evelyn. Chapter 2. 1 year ago, Evelyn and I attended a friend's wedding. Right before the ceremony began, one of the bridesmaids couldn't participate because she got sick from something she ate, so our friend pulled Evelyn in at the last minute to fill in. As the wedding music started, Evelyn went on stage, hand in hand with the groomsmen, dancing along with the melody. The groomsmen danced skillfully, guiding her, whose limbs were nowhere near coordinated, into the rhythm, and the awkwardness of the last-minute replacement gradually faded with the atmosphere. Sitting below the stage, I watched them go from holding hands to their fingers tentatively interlacing, from stiff expressions to gazes that seemed to understand each other. My once calm heart skipped a beat, then suddenly pounded like a drum.
Silent, thinking about how Evelyn had never crossed any lines during all the years we'd been together. I couldn't believe what I had seen at the wedding, nor did I dare think deeper about it. Yet the whole ride, her mood was unusually good. She hummed the song they danced to at the wedding, and only when she caught my gaze did she realize she might have been a little too happy. "What's wrong?" Perhaps sensing my displeasure, she asked nervously. "Are you still feeling unwell?" I stared at her silently. Though her face was full of concern, the spark of desire in her eyes only burned brighter. "You really enjoyed dancing with another man, didn't you?" I asked sarcastically. Her expression froze. Her face immediately fell as she slammed her hand onto the steering wheel. "It's my best friend's wedding. Am I not allowed to be happy, Simon? Do you have to make these groundless accusations?" Groundless accusations? I looked at her in disbelief. The woman who once claimed to love me with her life was now snapping at me over some stranger. If the look she used to have when she loved me wasn't now appearing in her eyes for another man, I wouldn't have felt this terrified and uneasy. We stayed silent the rest of the way. When she dropped me off at home, she drove off without saying a word. I still can't forget how resolute her back looked in that moment. That was the first time we fought, and the first time she completely ignored me afterward. Chapter 3. Back home, I kept replaying what I had said to her, wondering if I had truly gone too far. Maybe I was really being petty. So when I couldn't reach her past midnight, I panicked. I lost my mind searching for her. Near dawn, one of her friends posted a new photo on her feed, with location. Evelyn was in it, and sitting right beside her was Robert. Their bodies leaned toward each other, just like a pair of secret lovers trying not to expose themselves, yet unable to resist being close. A surge of rage exploded inside me. I followed the location and searched the place room by room. Finally, in one of the private rooms, she and her friends were each wrapped in the arms of their respective male companions. Amid their laughter, someone spoke up. "Evelyn, after being with Simon for more than 10 years, do you still love him? Aren't you tired of it?" The teasing voices overlapped. Evelyn exchanged a look with Robert, whose arm was around her. What are 10+ years of feelings worth? And what even is love? With my current status, don't I just have to say a few words or lift a finger to have whatever I want? He's old now, and his temper's gotten worse. How can he compare to younger guys? After saying that, she gazed at Robert with affection and lifted her head to kiss him. They kissed passionately, like lovers who had been forcibly separated and finally reunited despite society's judgment. The world spun around me. The woman I had loved for more than 10 years was at that very moment abandoning her own husband and kissing another man. My fists clenched tight. At the height of their heated kiss, I shoved the door open, grabbed a wine bottle from the table, and smashed it toward Robert's head. The sudden attack terrified everyone in the room. They froze, too shocked to care about Robert clutching his bleeding head. "So what am I to you? Just another piece in your game? Are you a rabid dog that bites anyone you see?" Evelyn screamed when she saw the blood running down Robert's head.
Trying to snatch the broken bottle from my hand. I pulled my hand back, pressing the jagged bottleneck against Robert's throat. "Do you even know who I am? If you want to play the homewrecker, then crawl back into the gutter where you belong. I don't go easy." "Stop, Simon, don't hurt Robert." Evelyn grabbed the bottle, and even when the sharp edges pierced her hand, she refused to let go. The room fell into instant silence. Droplets of blood hit the floor one by one, like knives stabbing straight into my chest. She would go this far for Robert? Chapter 5. All of this felt like a dream. I loosened my hand, dazed and powerless, unable to believe what I had just seen was real. Robert held Evelyn's injured hand, his voice trembling with worry as he shouted, "We need to get to the hospital." Only then did everyone react. They all rushed forward to surround the two of them, afraid that I would lose control again. During all of this, Evelyn didn't glance at me even once. She no longer cared about me, nor did she care about the years of our relationship. At that moment, I could no longer feel any physical pain. The instant she chose to protect Robert, my heart had already been torn to shreds. Thinking back over the years, even during the early days when we were starting our business, when I was bullied outside, she only listened quietly to my complaints. If she had just once stood in front of me and told others not to bully me, that would have been enough. But not even once. What did she take me for? Someone to suffer with her but not to share joy with? A temporary companion she could lie beside but never truly acknowledge? She must not have a heart. Otherwise, after all these years, even if she didn't love me anymore, just for the sake of our shared history, she wouldn't have thrown me aside like this. That night, I collapsed on the ground, clutching my injured waist in agony. When she learned that my old injury had relapsed, she didn't feel even a shred of guilt. Standing by the hospital bed, she spoke lightly. "I told you long ago, if your back wasn't healed, stop trying to act tough. No one forced you to save me. I really don't know why you insist on pretending to be some tough guy in front of others." She was telling the truth. She didn't force me. It was voluntary. Blocking the car for her, everything was voluntary. But hearing her say something so heartless, I finally lost all rationality and lunged at her like a madman. My hands clamped viciously around her neck. She struggled fiercely and pushed me away. Standing over me by the hospital bed, she glared down and spat out her demand for a divorce. "Simon, you're a lunatic. I'm divorcing you." I froze. My eyes instantly reddened. She actually wanted to leave me. So it's true. Love appears in an instant and disappears in an instant. Chapter 5. A knock on the door pulled me back to reality. It was someone Evelyn had sent to deliver the divorce agreement. I skimmed through it quickly. Aside from all existing properties being allocated to me, nothing else was mentioned regarding asset division. She did own several properties, and on the surface this seemed favorable to me, but compared to the shares she was about to have once the company went public, it was practically the same as being left with nothing. The company grew because of our joint efforts. It was only after I handed full control over to. And now she wanted to kick me out so quickly. I couldn't believe how eager she was to burn the bridge after crossing it. I gathered our household registration booklets, our marriage certificate, and the divorce agreement, then went straight to the company to find Evelyn. I hadn't been to the company in a year, and all the employees had been replaced. When I walked in, the receptionist called 2 security guards to block me at the entrance. "I'm here to see Evelyn. Call her out." "Sorry, sir. Our boss is currently having lunch with her husband." The receptionist lifted her chin, and from her tone and the way she looked at me, it was as if I were some homewrecker causing a scene. Having lunch with her husband? I laughed coldly. So Evelyn was openly introducing Robert to the company as her husband. She was in such a rush. Did she forget that she still had a legal marriage with me? One that was still very much in effect? Call Evelyn. Tell her Simon is looking for her. Hearing the firmness in my voice, the receptionist and security guards exchanged looks before the receptionist took her phone and stepped aside to make the call. A while later, Evelyn returned with a tall and upright Robert following behind her. He placed a protective arm around Evelyn's shoulders, looking as if he were shielding a delicate treasure. The moment Evelyn saw me, her steps faltered. She subtly shrugged off Robert's arm and walked toward me. What is it? I handed her the divorce agreement. I don't agree with the asset division written here. Chapter 6. What asset division? She frowned and questioned me. I froze for a second, then opened the page on the divorce agreement where the asset division was written and handed it to her again. You didn't even mention the company shares. Evelyn took it in surprise. After reading it over, she turned her head toward Robert behind her. She didn't speak, but the atmosphere was deathly silent. At that moment, it was obvious whose idea the original divorce agreement had been. Lowering his head, realizing he couldn't hide anymore, Robert tightened his grip on Evelyn's wrist and spoke hoarsely. You said he used the kid to tie you down. Now that he's willing to sign the divorce agreement, I thought we should cut things clean quickly so nothing unexpected happens. Evelyn fell for it instantly. Just moments ago, she had looked sharp and cold, but now her fingertips brushed over the back of his hand as her voice suddenly softened. Silly thing, why are you crying? For a moment, I felt disoriented, as if I had returned to our school days when we were secretly dating and got caught by the discipline director, our names broadcast across the whole school. I had been hiding in the equipment room, crying in the corner, and she kicked open the door, brushed her fingers over the back of my hand the same way, and stuffed tissues into my palm. Why are you crying? Later, when our startup crashed and burned, she squatted in the office, surrounded by failed contracts, and repeated the same line. It's nothing, it'll be fine. I used to think she only talked that way to me. Never expected Robert to be the one she coddled like this. I laughed at myself. The love I once thought was solid as rock turned out to be worthless in the face of her so-called love at first sight. Evelyn turned to look at me, her eyes dark and unreadable. After a few seconds, she said, "Come to my office." She pulled out another.
The asset division in this one included an additional 30% of company shares. I froze for a moment, then let out a cold laugh. So the divorce wasn't just something she said in anger. It wasn't entirely Robert's idea either. I exhaled slowly and was just about to sign when a hand stopped me. Are you really going through with the divorce? Her brows faintly knitted. I couldn't help but laugh. She was the one asking for a divorce. Why was she turning the question back on me? Since the moment you met Robert, you've had someone bring up divorce to me 6 times. She froze and said, Impossible. Chapter 7. Evelyn paused, her lips moving slightly, before she finally spoke. Simon, life is meant to be lived, not counted. I didn't even know I asked 6 times, yet you remember so clearly. I was speechless. Every time she brought it up, it was like a knife stabbing into me. Each time nearly took half my life. How could I possibly forget? Seeing I wasn't moved, she still refused to lift her hand from blocking me. You really don't want anything else? She kept confirming. No. Convert the shares into cash. As long as I had money, I could start over again. As for everything else, the adulterous pair can enjoy it themselves. This weekend, let's go see Dad together. If he agrees, I'll let you sign. My hand trembled, tears falling uncontrollably as my body shook. Filled with rage, I raised the pen and stabbed it into the back of her hand. She yelped from the pain and let go instantly. I swiftly signed the agreement and walked out of her office. I'll wait for you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. When everything was done, I kept the receipt, planning to return after the 30-day cooling-off period. Evelyn followed silently behind me without saying a word. When I opened the car door, she stepped forward and grabbed my hand. What made you suddenly agree to the divorce? I shook off her tight grip and ignored her. What a bullshit question. You should at least tell me the reason, Simon, she insisted. The reason, Evelyn? You're really good at pretending to be oblivious. I looked at Robert behind her. It's because you couldn't control yourself, because you brought up divorce again and again, because you allowed your lover to humiliate me in public. There were far too many reasons.
During these days, while I was breaking down and losing my mind, shamelessly begging her to come back and getting nothing, I suddenly woke up. What is love? What do more than 10 years of feelings even mean? According to Evelyn, they were things she could get just by saying a few words or curling a finger. And now the man she was cheating with was standing behind her, yet she had the nerve to ask why I wanted a divorce? Judging from Robert's behavior in every situation, I realized something. Leaving Evelyn now was the best choice, because with that man around, she was going to face a disaster very soon. Chapter 8. Simon, during the 30-day cooling-off period, you can change your mind at any time. I'll pretend none of this ever happened. She was clearly panicking as she said it. Maybe she saw the determination in my eyes. Maybe she sensed that if she let go this time, I would never return. But even so, she still refused to let go of her so-called pride. I couldn't stand the look on her face. I raised my hand and slapped her. The crisp sound sent the words she was about to say straight back down her throat. Looking back on all these years, it seemed I had never truly found happiness with Evelyn. Everything I thought was devotion from her was merely because, in those difficult years, there was no one else who went through hardships with her. So once
She simply returned to her true nature. She once said, "Look at those rich people. On the surface, they act so loving as couples, but who knows how many lovers they keep outside." I asked her, "If you became wealthy, would you be like that too?" She was stunned for a moment, then burrowed into my arms and said, "How could I? I'll always love you." I trusted her too much. I actually believed she was different from others, believed she would always love me, so much that I ignored the guilt and hesitation that flashed through her eyes when she said those words. I thought that after all our years together, sharing hardships and building everything from scratch, our bond would be stronger than anyone else's. Even after discovering she was with Robert, I still held on to a tiny shred of hope that she might return. I was wrong to trust her, wrong to trust every lie that came out of her mouth. These memories were too painful. I didn't want to fall into them again. All I wished for was to escape this swamp of a marriage as fast as possible. I had the ability. Why should I stay beside a woman who betrayed me for the rest of my life? Evelyn held her face, staring at me in disbelief. Behind her, Robert rushed forward, lifting his hand to strike me, but Evelyn grabbed him before he could. "Don't you dare hurt him!" The scene was almost identical to before. Same people, only the roles had reversed. "Evelyn, don't stop me! He hit you!" Robert was furious, wanting to hit me with his other hand, but Evelyn shot him a look that froze him in place. He snorted and turned away angrily. "Simon, you weren't like this before. You never got angry because of another man." "Don't worry. As long as you don't divorce me, I can let everything go." "You're forgetting. Back when we were building the business, those bosses." In her panic, she blurted out truths she had never admitted before. "So you do remember it was the two of us who built the company," I roared, slapping her again. "I helped you build your career, not so you could become shameless, not so you could cheat, not so you could get yourself a lover. My father sold his house to support us, sold every keepsake my mother left. He even baked under the summer heat and froze in the winter to help you do product research. You have no conscience," I screamed hysterically at Evelyn. Whenever I thought of my father, my heart felt like it was being ripped apart alive. My father loved Evelyn dearly, treated her like his own daughter. Because of me, he devoted all his affection to both of us. If he had known that the son he loved most was being deceived like this, how much would it have broken his heart? "I'll buy the house back. I'll buy back your mother's belongings. I'll return everything, okay?" Evelyn clutched my hand tightly, refusing to let go. Her tone was somewhere between begging and a last desperate cry. "It's too late. Everything is too late." I took out my father's death certificate from my bag. Evelyn accepted it. When she saw what it was, her lips trembled and a trace of red gathered in her eyes. "What happened? Dad was so healthy. How could he die?" I shut my eyes in pain, my mind filled with the scene from the day he passed away. Chapter 9. During that period, Evelyn's cold violence had pushed me to the brink of collapse. My psychological defenses had already crumbled. After failing to persuade me, my father prepared to go find Evelyn himself, but not long after he left, I received a call.
Car accident. When I rushed to the hospital in panic, all that was left on the bed was my father's body covered by a white sheet. Numbly, I lifted the sheet. His face was mangled beyond recognition. Bright red blood had soaked the sheet completely through. In my helpless panic, I called Evelyn countless times and sent countless messages, but everything sank into silence. In that moment, it felt like I suddenly woke up. She wasn't the perfect woman I once imagined. She was unreliable. I handled the funeral alone. After settling everything, I had someone deliver a message to her. My decision to divorce wasn't out of anger, nor because she had another man. It came from the realization after losing the person closest to me. But the cost was far too great. So great that for a moment I almost wished to leave this world together with my father. The doctor told me my father didn't die immediately. He held on to say one last sentence to Evelyn. He hoped that the son he loved most could live a healthy and happy life. I no longer had the right to die. Carrying on my father's wish was the last comfort I could give him. Do you know, my dad collapsed right at the entrance of your company. Forget it. Saying more was pointless. She had no heart. She wouldn't care. I drove away, not giving her any chance to speak. In the rearview mirror, Evelyn's hands fell limp at her sides, her eyes empty and dazed. My phone buzzed. It was a message from her. Where is Dad buried? I want to visit him. Seems like she removed me from her block list. I didn't reply. Instead, I added her to mine. My father wouldn't want to see her. After returning home, I packed all of Evelyn's belongings and sent them to the company. I contacted an agent to list the house for sale. That house was where we lived for more than 10 years. There were too many traces of Evelyn. I didn't want to stay there anymore. Chapter 10. I moved into my new home. It was the house I bought with the company's very first earnings. I thought that if I just endured quietly until the day we received the divorce certificate, everything between us would finally end. But 1 week before the final date, Robert suddenly showed up at my door. You really made it hard for me to find you. The moment I opened the door, a bucket of foul-smelling water was dumped over my head. Before I could react, 2 men pushed me back inside the apartment. So you're the one who meddled in my brother's relationship. I stumbled from the shove, my back slamming against the shoe cabinet. The physical pain wasn't nearly as frightening as the 2 burly men glaring at me. Even though I was the one being cheated on, I knew explaining was useless now. Quietly, I reached into my pocket, relying only on instinct, and dialed that number. Tomorrow, don't get any funny ideas. Don't let Evelyn hesitate for even a second. Got it? Robert slapped me hard across the face. A burning sting spread through my cheek immediately. I glared at him sideways, and strangely, it made me feel a hint of satisfaction. Seeing I wouldn't speak, Robert grew bored. He signaled to the 2 men and slipped out the door. The moment the door shut, the 2 men trapped me against the shoe cabinet, and in their eyes toward me, a man appeared unmistakable lust. Shit, they were both gay. I understood instantly what Robert intended. Panic surged through me, and all I could do was silently pray that the call
Soon enough. You look pretty handsome. Let's have some fun. Just as the words fell, the door was kicked open, and the man in front of me was knocked away with a single brutal kick. Chapter 11. Simon. Jenny rushed toward me, drenched in sweat, with several people following behind her. I gave her a faint smile to show I was fine. I had gambled correctly. Not long after I bought this place, she bought an apartment in the building right next door. Since today wasn't a work day, she would definitely be home. Seeing this scene, the 2 burly men grew nervous. They backed out of my apartment, only to realize Robert had already disappeared. As the sound of police sirens grew closer, the tightness in my chest finally loosened. What happened? Who are these people? Jenny helped me up, asking anxiously. They're the people your sister's lover sent. I didn't hide anything, and told her everything I had kept from her before. Jenny went from shock to gradual acceptance. After all, she probably knew better than anyone what kind of person her own sister was. I was taken to the hospital, and Evelyn rushed over after being notified. Seeing Jenny taking care of me, she stormed forward and slapped Jenny across the face. Jenny refused to back down. The 2 of them started fighting right there in the hospital room. I lay on the bed quietly watching them. They were biological sisters, but their relationship had never been good. It wasn't until a nurse arrived with security guards that they were finally pulled apart. Let me tell you, if I hadn't arrived in time today, you'd be facing another criminal charge. Jenny wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and glared at Evelyn. Their relationship hadn't always been bad. It only started deteriorating after Evelyn and I began dating. Still, Jenny had treated me fairly well. She helped me a lot during the early days of the start. I had asked Evelyn why she and Jenny had drifted apart, but she always brushed the question aside. Are you okay? Evelyn ignored her sister, grabbing my hand anxiously. Just then, the police entered to take my statement. They told me the 2 men had been arrested, but they refused to identify the mastermind. What men? What mastermind? Evelyn asked, confused. When she learned the whole story, she immediately pulled out her phone and dialed a number. She swiped anxiously across the screen again and again, but received no answer. Damn it, she cursed and rushed out. Chapter 12. I completed a medical injury assessment, and combined with the break-in and the attempted assault, these charges were enough to send Robert to prison. Evelyn changed completely. She became overly attentive at the hospital. If you're doing this to make up for your lover's crimes, you really don't need to. At my sarcasm,
Her hand, which was feeding me, paused. "I'll show you. Honey, let's go back to how we were, okay?" Her voice was soft, as if all the hurt she'd caused me had never happened. "Go back? Will my dad come back? Evelyn, if my dad could come back, I would go back with you. And let the past go." She threw her arms around me, her voice trembling. "I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll do anything if you'll just forgive me." I sneered. "Then give the company back to me, and tell me where Robert is hiding. How about that?" I wasn't sure whether it was the mention of the company or Robert's name that struck her nerve. She shot to her feet, her facial muscles twitching.
Sharpening with anger. "Do you love money that much? You don't care about our years together?" Of course I love money. Didn't you become wealthy and then throw away our years of relationship just like that? My voice was cutting like a blade, slicing through the last of her lies. She staggered back a step, then suddenly threw herself into my arms like a madwoman. "Honey, having me love you is enough. From now on, I'll only love you, okay?" I could no longer tell whether she was sincere or not, but her tricks didn't work on me anymore. What is love? The cheapest thing in the world. Just the upper lip touching the lower lip. Who cares? Forget it. Keep that cheap love for yourself. Whether it's the company or Robert, you won't be able to protect either of them. I pushed her away, curling my lips into a solemn smile. I wanted her to understand. When you do something wrong, you take the punishment. And her punishment was about to begin. Chapter 13. Actually, on the second day after our first visit to the Civil Affairs Bureau, I contacted the employees Evelyn had kicked out. These were the very first people who built the company with me from the ground up. After my injury, Evelyn used all kinds of excuses to force them out. Once I reached them, they all said they were willing to work with me again. At the same time, one employee revealed a piece of information. It was Robert's idea to get rid of them, and now most of the company's staff were Robert's relatives and old classmates. I was stunned. I had always thought Evelyn and Robert's love at first sight happened at that wedding. Turns out they had already been secretly involved long before that. No wonder at the wedding they seemed suddenly familiar, suddenly interlocking fingers so naturally. And no wonder when I went to the company, the employees only acknowledged Robert as her husband. So everything was orchestrated by the two of them. I clenched my fists. After the moment of helplessness passed, I could only laugh at myself. But none of this changed the fact that I intended to take revenge. After being discharged from the hospital, I rebuilt the company, collected evidence, and on the day we finalized the divorce certificate, I prepared a grand gift for Evelyn. Just as the official seal was stamped, her phone rang. After answering, she looked at me with blame and fury. "Did you report it?" Evelyn grabbed my collar angrily. I didn't answer. I simply looked at her with a meaningful gaze. Since Robert's people had infiltrated the company, he would inevitably have had contact with the company's finances. Originally, the finance team was hired with a high salary by me, and Robert had driven them out too. Evelyn never handled this part of the company. So as long as I made a phone call to the tax bureau, whether there were problems or not, that was no longer my concern. My shares had already been cashed out for me. Even if the finances were clean, news like this would affect the company's listing. She lost all strength and let go of my collar, mumbling, "We built this company together. You're really ruthless. But you handed the company I worked so hard to build straight to Robert." I turned my head toward her. She froze, her eyes confused. "Robert has already been arrested. As for the company, just wait for the investigation results." Holding my divorce certificate, I walked away without looking back. Chapter 14. My work at the company progressed smoothly. Compared to the hardships of this, everything was slowly falling back into place. Evelyn's company was investigated for tax issues, and the plan to go public fell apart. Robert's family background was decent, and his parents came to me multiple times hoping for reconciliation. With both sides' lawyers present, we met once. He sat there nervously, all the former confidence gone. When he saw me, his eyes brightened with hope. "Simon, I was wrong. I'm willing to pay you however much you want. Just please sign the letter of forgiveness. Those two were my cousins. I lied to them. If I go to prison because of this, my family won't survive. Please, I'm begging you." Like someone grabbing at a lifeline, he dropped to his knees, trembling uncontrollably. "You really think I need your money, or that I'm easy to talk to? Where was all this humility when you were encouraging them to hurt me? Forgiveness is impossible." I gave him no hope. Every consequence he faced was self-inflicted. He should have known, this is a society ruled by law. Not everything can be solved with money, and the thing I lack the least is money. The light in his eyes dimmed little by little, leaving him looking pitiful. This was exactly the kind of weakness Evelyn adored. She always said I was too strong, always charging ahead, never giving her the chance to show what she could do. But she never understood. The reason I carried everything was because I cared for her. My care became dominance in her eyes. Because I could handle everything, she had the room to care for someone else. After leaving the meeting, I discussed the next steps of prosecution with my lawyer. I wasn't a saint.
Every cent spent on him before the divorce was marital property. He owed compensation. And for orchestrating an attack on me, the law would give its own judgment. During evidence collection, everything proceeded smoothly, but I didn't expect that Jenny would come to my company because of Evelyn. Chapter 15. Her mental state is really bad right now. Jenny hesitated, as if there was something she couldn't bring herself to say. We have no relationship anymore. Whether she's doing well or not has nothing to do with me. I was grateful that she had saved me, so I didn't speak harshly. Jenny said nothing more. She emptied her cup of coffee in one gulp. I understand, I'll tell her. She was about to leave, and while I was walking her toward the elevator, she suddenly turned back. You're single now? Would you ever consider me? I didn't understand what she meant and gave her a questioning look. It was me who told her I liked you back then. That's why she started paying attention to you. If I had confessed first, maybe things wouldn't have ended this way for you. Stop. Jenny was about to keep talking, but I really couldn't stand listening to this kind of cliché. Even if I had chosen you back then, my life wouldn't necessarily have turned out better. After going through a marriage like this, I'm even more certain that only I can give myself the life I want. As for what you just said, I don't agree. Thank you for arriving in time that day. If there's anything you ever need help with, you can come to me anytime. Jenny gave an awkward smile. You're still exactly the same. You haven't changed at all. I extended my hand and offered her a polite, professional smile. She took my hand and returned the smile. She and Evelyn had become estranged because of me, and because of me they somehow reconciled. That's how relationships between people often are. Always.
One person, or one moment, or one choice. Chapter 16. Robert's case at the court had already reached its final stage. His two cousins were sentenced to prison terms while he received probation and residential surveillance. I was very satisfied with this outcome. Evelyn, because her company was involved in tax violations, was fined heavily and no one was willing to work with her anymore. When the public notice came out, I had just gotten off work. Our accountant, Pilar, called me over to look at the news. This is the consequence of betrayal. No, the lesson is that following the law and paying taxes properly is what makes someone a good citizen. After reading it, I corrected her. Pilar nodded rapidly. Right, you're absolutely right. I started the car, and the moment the headlights lit up, a dark figure stood right in front of it. Looking closely, I realized it was Evelyn. Her lips were dry, her eye sockets sunken, her gaze empty. In just 2 months, she looked like a completely different person. I honked, but she didn't move at all. We stared at each other like that for nearly 2 minutes until Pilar rolled down the window and shouted, "Good dogs don't block the way." "Can I talk to you?" Evelyn finally said. Pilar looked at me nervously and gave me a "don't do it" kind of expression. "Say it here. Pilar isn't an outsider." I lowered the window slightly, trying to avoid direct contact with her as much as possible. She gave a helpless smile, and when she tilted her head, I saw tears sliding from the corner of her eye. We've been together for more than 10 years, and today I finally realized, I don't know you at all. If, and I mean if, I tried to pursue you again, would you give me a chance to know you? I'll make it up to you. We can still have our own child in the future. Evelyn was breathing rapidly as she spoke. Her face pressed against the car window, desperate to hear a positive answer from me. It takes countless days and nights for people to build a relationship, but resetting everything takes only a single instant. Between you and me, there is no trust left. Evelyn, I agreed to divorce you not to give you a second chance, but because I finally let go. I rolled the window up, giving her no more chances to speak. Regret that comes too late is nothing more than an illusion, unreal and meaningless. In this relationship, I was betrayed, humiliated, and abandoned. I had been passionate, had gone mad, and had calmed down. What truly killed this relationship were her actions, each moment enough to cut me apart piece by piece. Well done, I thought you might go soft. Pilar patted my shoulder, still looking like she had just had a scare. I smiled at her. How could I possibly go soft? The relationship part was over. But the other matters, I hadn't even started. Driving out of the underground parking lot, a streak of sunset painted the exit in red. I glanced at Pilar. See? Our company is going to shine.